Hello, everyone. Welcome to Prowess Goes Live, where weekly we are bringing you the latest and greatest on how to be an online business manager. So, this is not only how to be one, but really what we are hearing from CEOs who are looking to hire OBMs, what we're hearing that they want and they need on a day-to-day basis. And so, we're always trying to think how we can level you up. And I share all of this because today is a very special treat. This is something, we're talking about something that I hear from every single CEO that I speak to. But the crazy part about it is they don't have the words to say it. And so they're describing what they need, and then you share this term or this is what you can help with. And they're like, bingo, that's what I need. And so we were so excited that we have the resident project manager operations wizard herself joining us today to really walk through exactly what this is. So before we get started, as always, we do a quick starter question. And so today's starter question was really great. And thank you, Natalie, for suggesting it. If you could magically know the exact number of anything in your life, what would it be? And it could be like exact number of dollars in your bank account. Natalie suggested snacks in her pantry. How many yeses you need to, or how many no's you needed to get to your next yes to get a client? Like, what would some of those be? What would some of those be? Days left on this earth. Oh my gosh, Belinda, that was exactly the one that I was thinking of. The exact one. What is mine would be knowing the average knows that I needed to get to the yes. And it's probably on my brain because Leah and I broke down like some data that we're looking at, but I think that would really help make the no's go by quicker. And I would probably pitch more people. So I should probably just make up a number and just say that that's what it is and just continuously pitch, because you never know. Corey, what the electricity bill will be. Preach, sister. Preach. I'm like, oh, we're turning off that fan. We're turning off that light. Okay. For all of you who do not know, I'm Ashley Connell, CEO and founder of Prowess Project. What we do at Prowess Project is we match online business managers with their ideal clients. So we train these OBMs to provide fractional operation support and really be that right-hand thought partner to CEOs. As they're going through our training program, we're gathering hundreds of data points on skill, expertise, communication style, work style, and use all of that data to match them up with clients. So today, lead smarter, using data to drive decisions at scale. So I am so excited to bring up the Natalee Shimerdla. Hello.
Hello.
So glad to have you, Natalee.
I'm excited to be here. I have to tell you the exact number of things I want to know right now is exactly how many vegetables my kid is not going to eat uh, on his unlimited meal plan that he has. I know the number of chicken strips, but I want to know how many vegetables. And pretty sure that's a zero. Big fat goose egg right there, kids.
Yeah, probably the same amount that my toddler eats.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm. He still eats
yeah,
like a toddler for sure. For sure.
so good. So good. Well, Natalee, today we're talking all about how using data can help drive decisions at scale. And before we do, I want you to give us the quick and dirty of how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So I spent 25 years in corporate America. 19 of those years were as a leader or as a manager of people or resources. So that includes being a project manager or a program manager, where I was responsible for a specific project or program deliverable. I was a product manager, so I also was responsible for the delivery of products during that time frame. And then as a manager and a director as well. And just about a year ago, in June, I left corporate America to become an online business manager full time and run my business. NGSD, which is Natalie Gets Bleep Done. And so right now I have been far exceeding my expectations in my business, and I have a wait list, and life is grand.
Oh, Natalie, I mean, gosh, if it's just like not proof that you can do it, like you just
Mhm.
every day you amaze me at all of the
Oh.
things not only get done, like Natalie Gets Beat Done is such a great name for your business, but I think it needs like a little like carrot, like Natalie Gets Beat Done well, or because it's not about quantity with you, it's about quality too. And it's just so
Absolutely.
you're serving some quality shit, Natalie. Anyway, um, so this I opened it up like this, but I want to say it again. When CEOs come to us and say, Ashley, I need help with ops, what they really say, the words that they are using is, Ashley, I know I need to get to the next level.
Mhm.
I need to plan and build from more than just vibes.
Yep.
And I need to know what how I should use my resources, time, money, and people in the best way in order to get to my goals. And I'm like, so what I hear you say is capacity planning and resource management. And they're like, boom, oh my gosh, that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. So, Natalie, for all of us who have not heard those terms before, can you explain to us what that means?
Sure. So let's start with capacity management. So for every member of your team, you are going to calculate how much time they have available. So, and we can go into like specific calculations here in a bit, but essentially that's the definition of capacity management, is simply how much time do all the members of your team have available to deliver. And a couple of tips and tricks in this space, especially as an OBM, it is not just your CEO's time and your time, but think about all of the other potential contractors that might be supporting your client. Is there a social media manager? Do you have a copywriter? Do you have someone who is doing business development, or somebody who may be doing uh, client success management, right? You want to calculate the bandwidth of every member of that team. And again, we'll go into the specific calculations of that. So that's
And
capacity management.
now, resource management.
So resource management is really making sure that you have the right people at the right time doing the right tasks. So let's use a product launch as an example. There are individuals on the team who are responsible for executing tasks for a product launch, a content launch, a course launch, a webinar, a podcast, right? Not everyone on the team can do the tasks that need to be done in order for that to happen. Okay. So your social media manager, I'm just going to use some pretty common roles here. Your social media manager absolutely has the ability to launch the or schedule the content for leading up to it, advertising for it. They have the ability to prep and prepare the specific content that is going to be posted. But are they responsible for identifying the guest that is going to be on the podcast or on the webinar? Are they responsible for coming up with the title and the topic for said webinars, right? So resource management is kind of like a chess game where it's populating the right person in the right spot at the right time based on the work that is laid out. And again, we'll go into formulas and like specifics on how this all happens, but collectively, capacity management and resource or capacity planning and resource management are going to give you the visualization of how your team is being productive for your client, for your business, and that sort of thing.
You put that so simply. Gosh, I love it. Okay, so you have a wait list.
Yep.
And so when a CEO comes to you and you ask about their data, you ask about their resource management or their planning, and they say they don't use any data, how do you describe to them the value of using that data to either land the deal or just to value add, teach them of why it's such a valuable information to know?
Sure. So I like to take it back to the very first piece, and that is data, right? So um someone who is very analytical, someone who is very number oriented, for me, facts, data, that is a very easy way to help tell a story or to provide a visualization to give that client or that team a picture of where their business sits. Data is going to remove any of the guesswork that they're having about the business. So there is an importance in relying on your intuition when it comes to decisions. I'm not discounting that, but data is going to inform your intuition so that you stop guessing, right? Instead of playing the lottery and pulling that slot machine when you think you might want to hit big, use the data to help guide or direct your decisions. It's going to give you clarity, right? So you know, based on X, Y, and Z situations, this is what happened, right? And this is the potential for what could be in the future. It's going to give you confidence. If something happened 3 times previously, the fourth time, you can be pretty darn confident that that is going to happen again. It is going to also prevent overcommitment. So, this is something that I see often in OBMs just starting their business. And it happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to many others, but you get in and you overcommit yourself. And then when that happens, or teams are overcommitted, they are missing their deadlines, they are delaying delivery, they may be undercharging that client. So you are spending more time, you are making less money, you are losing out on revenue. So understanding all of those things, you may see scope creep happen. So you may go in thinking you are doing X and you end up doing X plus because you're not really tracking that information. From a client side, they are probably spending more money than what they anticipated spending because they are overrunning the budgets because people are working overtime, because the delays are being missed, because we need more resources in order to be able to meet the goals that we are having or that we have laid out. So those are really the foundations for why it is important to start establishing a capacity plan and a resource management strategy.
Absolutely. And you said this, but I want to just be really clear on it. So, what symptoms do you hear CEOs say that make you think they have a capacity planning issue? They have a resource management issue?
I would say there's probably 3 very common things that I hear. The first one is we never get anything done. It feels like we are just constantly working on the same things over and over again. So that means they're not able to scale. They're not able to add to their business. They're not able to invoke improvements or enhancements. The second thing that you often hear is, I don't know what the team's working on. So they
Mm,
are so busy CEOing, they have no idea what's happening from a team perspective, which is not a good thing, right? As a CEO, you don't need to know from 8 to 8:15 Susie is doing X, and then from 8:15 to 9:45 she's doing Y, but you need to have a general sense of what the members of your team are working on. And then the third thing is, I'm doing it all myself.
yep,
And the
yep.
CEOs feel this burden to have their hands in everything that is happening in the company, that at that point in time you really need to take a step back. In a solopreneur situation, that is common. I'm not going to address those. I'm talking about situations where you have a client with a team of people that they are paying to complete a role, a responsibility, a project, a deliverable.
I love it. Okay, so if they're giving you all of these symptoms, what do
Mhm.
you typically offer them?
Sure. So the first thing that I would always start with is a business audit, and at Prowess we talk about that from the very beginning. And this is more than just a how does your day look, that kind of thing. This is like an in-depth review of, walk me through every process. You start with client onboarding, you go into client delivery, client communications. Want to go through the team communications, right? How are messages being shared back and forth amongst the team? What are they using from a file management perspective? And for larger, I would say, operations overhauls, we will go into the nitty gritty. Like, we will do time studies, we will do operations assessments, we will lay it out. But first, it's really understanding for them, what does your how do you run your business? What does that look like? Then obviously, as part of that, I'll get a good understanding of who is on your team, what are their roles and responsibilities. um, it is not uncommon in newer businesses or businesses who have scaled really fast to share with me that they have, a team of 3 or 4 people, and those 3 or 4 people just do whatever it takes because they haven't stopped to take the time to like draw all this stuff out. So we'll go through that. Um, the other thing I would say is that it is important to understand what systems they're currently using, because there are oftentimes ways that we can reduce resource hours by improving or enhancing technology and automation. Um, as AI has become so prevalent, there are so many ways that I can get efficiency from, somebody was spending 12 hours a week doing X, Y, and Z, down to a quarter of that, where they're down to 3 or 4 hours because we're able to invoke AI and process improvement through technology, through changes in the way that the work flows, um, either through systems or just the general overview over process. It's like,
Hmm.
um it's like GPS. I mean, really learning and leaning into the data in their business is like giving them a GPS so that you can get from point A to point B without it. But when you have it, it's going to tell you, here's a roadblock, here's, a radar detection, here's, construction. And so really leaning into the data and understanding what the picture of that looks like for their business gives them, first of all, it's usually a oh shit moment, because it's like, I had no idea that this was all happening, or that this was that clunky, or whatever the case might be. Um, but then secondarily, it's like, oh, okay. And there's so many levers that they can pull at that point in time. You just almost feel this immediate relief from them.
I love this. So, what I heard you say from an offer standpoint is first you do the audit where you map out all of the processes, all the people, all the communications, all of the systems in the entire business. And let me underscore something, not how it should be, how
Correct.
it actually is.
Yes, yes. I don't want, I will absolutely ask, what would your desires be? Like that is absolutely part of it because as we redesign or improve, we can start heading in that direction. But I want you to tell me exactly where the bodies are buried, where the big old craters in your road are. Like I want to know. I want to know. I want you to pull
Yeah.
back the curtains and give me all the real thing because that's the only way we can improve it together.
It's so true. Okay, so you're there and you see all the processes, you see what they want to do, and then you can walk through and like build out ideal processes for them. But
Mhm,
when are you then saying, and then I can build you a capacity plan or resource management plan, and
mhm,
this is how we use it? How does
mhm.
that conversation go?
Sure. So, as I am evaluating what their current process looks like, part of that obviously is, understanding what their team's roles and responsibilities generally are. If I am seeing that the social media manager, as an example, is, billing them 80 hours a month, so half a resource for the month, um, but they're only posting 3 or 4 times a month, there's often those red flags, right? So
Got it.
those are the first things that I will look for, are those gaps. Then the next thing that I will look for is where can we invoke, like I said, automation,
Mm,
integrations, so that person A doesn't have to put information in system one and then turn around and put it in system two and put it in system three. They can still have that role and responsibility, but they don't have to do the same task essentially 3 times, once in the CRM, once in the billing system, once in the email management system, as an example. So we will look for that. Then, once we do that and we have kind of the to be process, we should have a pretty good sense of how much time it will take each team member to execute on those processes. So that's when we can start building that resource strategy and that capacity plan.
you said before that just the pure relief when
Mhm.
someone sees a business owner sees, here are all the different levers and what we suspect will happen based
Yeah.
on what has happened in the past. That, to your point, does just so much relief, but also confidence. And you said that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And so, y'all, that's what you're selling. You're selling
Mhm.
relief, you're selling confidence, you're selling, like, hey, business owner, now you have all the available information to make the best decisions to get to the goal that you actually really want.
Absolutely.
And the
Absolutely.
way that we do that is bing, 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 bing.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think another thing that often happens is, clients will or CEOs will not have the most information available on their fingertips to for client delivery. So they're getting on a phone call, they're selling the project to the client, and then they have to say, "I'm going to have to get back to you on availability." And you're guessing. And the reason that those clients are
Mm,
guessing is because they don't have any idea how many other clients they have on the books, how much time it's going to take to get that client onboarded. When is, the if it's interior design, when are the designers available to start doing the design? When can I get the construction team together to start having those conversations? Just all of these different things. And so being able to not have that guesswork in place, I think it's just, it makes the entire customer experience better. It makes your clients more satisfied. As a CEO, you aren't constantly questioning or needing to follow up on what that looks like for them. So there's a lot of um, intangible results that come along with knowing this data as well.
bingo. And what I just heard you say was uh, opportunity cost.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is if they do not know that they can take on another project, they may have full-time employees or even contractors on retainer sitting on their hands doing nothing.
Correct.
And the opportunity cost of that is getting more clients and getting more revenue and getting more profit and continuing to grow your business, continuing to pay your people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. The whole point of, making money, right? And building a business that is going to make money is to build profit. And in order to build profit, you want to make sure that the revenue is more than the expenses. And so if your labor expenses are just sucking you dry every month, how can you more optimally spend that money?
Well, and then there's cash flow on
Yep.
top of that. So
Yep.
it's really crazy how this capacity planning and resource planning really touches everything in your business.
100%. It is the foundation for making sure that you are running your business as optimally and efficiently and profitably as you can.
I love it. Oh, Natalee, I'm learning so much. This is so awesome.
Love
Um,
it.
okay, so thinking through this, you
Mhm,
gave us different formulas. You said
mhm,
that there were formulas that we can
mhm.
use. Um, what do you use for capacity planning and resource management?
Sure. So we're going to start with capacity planning because it really is the most math based. Resource management is a little bit of an art. So it's the art versus science here. Okay. So capacity planning is pretty straightforward. You want to take the number of working hours for every person on your team per week. You can do this at an annual basis, but I strongly recommend doing it first at a weekly basis because contracts may not be full time. You may not have a 12-month contract. You may have resources that are only working seasonally, whatever the case might be. So I strongly recommend doing this first at a weekly level. So you're going to take 40 hours for a full time employee. Let's say it's a half time, part time employee. That's your 20 hours. The next thing you want to do is subtract around 5% for PTO, holidays,
Mm,
things of that nature. So your typical federal holidays, that's about 5% of that person's time. PTO, doctor's appointments, out of office, vacation, move your kids to college and then sob for 3 days in bed, whatever the case might be, right?
hypothetically.
Usually, hypothetically, if that was Natalee on Monday, that's what you want to kind of calculate. So if you start with the 40 hours, because I need round numbers, 40 hours minus about 2 hours a week, that gives me about 38 hours a week. Now, what you want to do is reduce that number by about 15%. And this 15% generally accounts for admin work. This
Mm,
is scheduling meetings. This is your team meetings that you are attending and facilitating. This is updating status reports, just the admin work that everyone really has on their plates every week, regardless. So, again, if you are a full time employee, that's 40 hours. You've reduced it by about 5% for PTO and holidays. And then your admin work is about 15% of that time. And that is generally a number that if you're in corporate, they try to shrink down as much as possible. PTO, they really can't, muck with too much, but they try to get that admin number down as much as possible. And as an OBM, that is a gold mine for efficiency. So if you are seeing that your admin work is higher than that 6-ish hours a week for a full-time employee, there are definitely areas that you can move in there and try to automate and optimize. So
highlight, sorry, red
you're good.
pen, highlight,
Yes.
highlight, highlight. Yes, love that, Natalee.
Yes.
Love it, love it, love it.
And especially if that admin work is higher, the higher up in the organization you go. Okay. So when you're paying more, the more Admin time is consuming more profitability for that business. So that's where you really want to try to shrink down and focus your time. So that leaves you with your total availability at this point in time. Then you want to work through any committed hours. So if you do launches, product launches on a consistent basis, those are committed. They are scheduled, they are documented. You need to reduce that number, that amount of capacity by whatever amount of hours it takes for that to happen. You have consistent client work. So again, if you are in interior design, there are committed hours for a client project that you need to reduce. Recurring tasks. So expense reconciliation every month, billing clients, client nurture, the social media, those consistent recurring tasks. Those are all called your committed hours. Those are things that need to happen in order to keep the business running. So going back to our example, 40 hours full-time employee. I subtracted 2 hours for my PTO and my admin or my out of office and holidays. I subtracted 15% for my admin work. That's a little high generally, but contingency. Then I'm going to subtract my committed hours, those things that are scheduled that have to happen to make the business happen. What I have left now is what I can devote to project work. These are things that are new product development. This is a new offer you want to build out. This is anything that is not consistently happening in the business that you need to account for. That is how much time you can have for the nice to haves, the want to haves, the could do's, and the should do's. That is what is left for you. Generally speaking, I would say what CEOs are finding when they first get in there is that their committed hours, you're at about 32 after you've subtracted PTO and admin. That committed hour generally is about 80%.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that is another gold mine for identifying where you can optimize and provide efficiencies in the business. That is where, as an OBM, as an operations professional, you are going to spend the vast majority of your time finding where you can reduce that to get it a little more in balance. And I can't math very well. So 15, 5, that's 20, 80. That's 100% of that full-time resource. So there is no time available for project work. That's why that business isn't scaling, because they're not doing anything different. They're essentially just doing the same things every day. So ideally, when you can bring those committed hours down even 20%, you've now given yourself 20% to build and scale. And financially, 20% improvement from a profitability perspective, CEOs would die for those numbers.
Wow. I'm so speechless. Like, I've never heard of all of this. No one has ever broken this down for me. I've gone through the exercise, and Natalee, you did a wonderful job helping Prowess. And I will say, from being on the other side of this work, the spaciousness that I feel after we did this and continuous, that was back in June, worth its weight in gold. And I didn't know that there was a formula. So I know we don't have a ton of time left.
Sure.
How do you look at resource management
Yeah.
in a similar
So
way?
yeah, so absolutely. So this is where you're going to it's more of a calendar. Okay. So you're going to lay out the calendar. You're going to have your availability by resource. So you're going to know the kind of work that each team member does. And one tip that I will give here, people often get focused on the person. I want you to focus on the role. So This is going to empower your team members. This is going to help you develop their abilities. And if the right person isn't filling that role, it will help you see exactly where your deficiencies or inefficiencies are coming from. So when you look at your calendar, and I love a little strategic plan. In corporate, obviously, every business would go through this annual planning exercise and lay out their budget and all of those things. But even if you did this quarterly, monthly, whatever makes the most sense for your business cycle, um, you're going to lay out the work that has to be done for that given month, right? Based on the goals, based on the profitability, based on the team members that you have. What are the things that need to happen? You're going to align those in a Gantt chart or a calendar timeline, however it makes the most sense for you. And then you're going to visually see Susie, our social media manager, is going to be slammed the first week in September because we have a launch 3 weeks after. So, overhauling the Instagram and LinkedIn profiles isn't going to happen until after that time point. Random example I just threw out there. But when you start to lay out your client basis, right? So, again, going back to interior design, you have client one that's got to build, you got client two that's got to build, you got client three that has a build. Your designer isn't available to take on the next client until the next month. But your office manager can't do those. So you have to know that your interior designer is being productive. They just can't do the billing. They can't do the intake or whatever the case might be. So your resource management plan is kind of the analogy of putting the right butts in the right seats on the bus, right? You're a plus player that has to do the bulk of the interior design work can't be responsible for the social media content. So you have to make sure that those people are slated in the right times. And then you have to build your work around that. So during those heavy peaks, you really have to make sure that everything is accounted for during that time. So again, that's why it's more of an art than a science, because I can't give you a specific formulaic solution there. That is more of a laying everybody's roles out on a board and understanding what the workload looks like for each given period, be that a week, a month, a quarter, a year, what have you.
I just want to share from sitting on the other side as the CEO or the client. This is very empowering
Mhm.
to have this mapped out so that I know if I'm an interior designer that I need to hire a new designer
Yeah.
in the next 3 months if we're going to continue to grow. Or if we want to take on that marquee client, I'm going to have to hire. Do I have the cash? Do I have the recruiting resources?
Mhm.
So again, it starts telling you that story and then bubbling up the priorities that you need to first cross off in order to get to where you want to be.
100%. And I think that's what is so um fun about the unveiling for me when I see a CEO go, oh, so then I need to plan and prepare for this heavy season. So I actually probably should have started interviewing last week, let alone get the damn job description together, right? Like, and once you have that picture, it needs to be maintained. Don't get me wrong, but it has to be maintained. It is an exercise, it is a process that you have to facilitate on a recurring basis. But once you have that information in front of you, I mean, there are so many things that you can make better decisions about because the data is proving to you and showing you what is going to happen.
I love it. Okay, we have a question. How do you
Awesome.
assign tasks if someone will be completely focused on a project and can't work on billing or whatever they normally do?
So That assumes that project work is priority. You have to remember we calculated it backwards. So, what you actually then need to do is make sure that your project work is scheduled based on their open capacity. So, Katie, this happens all the time. All the time. We have, okay, we need to do a project, and this project has to be delivered by September 15th. And what happens then is you don't calculate the actual effort. You don't account for their normal job duties as assigned. You don't have that information. And when it's a three-legged stool, you have to make sure that your availability, your time, right? The number of days between now and then match. And then you have to balance that out with budget, right? There's a couple of different ways. You can expand that person's time availability. Maybe you just plan for overtime during that week. That's going to lead to burnout, but maybe that's something that business owner chooses. That business owner could choose to push the date. So
Mhm.
rather than having it due September 15th, they see the information in front of them. October 1st is probably more realistic. Um, the third thing that they can do is bring in part-time contract help. So rather than have one person do all of the work, bring in another part-time or assistant to that person that they can offload some of that more um, recurring documented because you got SOPs in place, right? Some of that repeatable type of work that they would normally take on.
So, Natalie, I love this. And what I'm hearing you say is it is your job as the OBM to not only build all of this, but then interpret it and give suggestions. And so,
Yes.
going back to what you said at the very beginning about the audit and how important it is to get a deep understanding of the business, you can't make a wise, thoughtful recommendation to your client if you're unaware that the cash this person, they have no cash, they have no way to pay for the new billing person.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why that business owner, that CEO also needs to be aware of their metrics. And again, gut gut feeling is good, but if you don't know how much money's in the bank, you don't have those metrics that you're reviewing weekly in your team meetings at a minimum monthly, they can't make good decisions to help their business scale and grow.
That is exactly right. So we have 2 minutes. I could talk to you for 2 more hours about this. I can't tell you how much I've learned. I'm already like, okay, I'm going to get the transcript and then, take notes and make flashcards, like the whole thing. Um, so Natalie, to wrap this up,
Mhm.
if someone was like, dude, I need to understand this. I need to get more of this. This is the unlock for all my clients. I just didn't know what it was called and how to do it, blah, blah, blah. What would you say their next best step would be?
Yeah. Don't, first of all, everybody tries to jump in head first. You can't build this overnight. It's going to take some um, iterations. It's going to take a few different versions of this to get it right, which is why it is a practice, not a one and done kind of situation. You're going to start with one metric. Find out one metric. If your team's not tracking time, have them track time. Don't go so far into tracking their time that it's like you know picked up my pencil, that took me 14 seconds. I logged into Canva, that took me 37 seconds, right? But general buckets, start with some general buckets so that you have a good understanding of how they're tracking time, and then create a visual, show by team member where the time is being spent. And for those that really aren't into numbers, tell the story. What are the graphics showing you? What are the different buckets that are coming about? If you think about what those buckets are, what does that mean for this particular client or this particular business? So really just find one pain point. So if it's, I don't know what my team is doing, start there. Do a time tracking, very basic buckets by team member. I wouldn't even give them a template to start, because a lot of times your team members are going to come up with different things that you never would have thought of. Then you can normalize the data once you have starting points. Then you can improve it from there. So there's a lot of different things like that that I would say, getting the data to start on time tracking is a great first step.
So good. And I want to highlight one thing. What I heard you say, setting expectations for your
Yes.
client.
Yes.
I love that you said and you reminded everyone that this is not a we're going to jump full in and you're going to have something by the end of the week.
Yep.
Far from it.
Yep.
If you're going to do it right, it's going to take some time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take some buy-in. Like, you may need to do a mini capacity planning from the gut to figure out when you're going to do your capacity planning.
Yes. 1,000,000%. Yes. Yes.
So again, I think that in this world of automation and AI, client CEOs, myself included, we just expect quick wins. We expect things to happen immediately. This
Mm-hmm.
is not one of those things.
1,000,000%. Yes. Agreed.
This is not one of those things. So, Natalee, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Y'all, give Natalee all the kudos in the world. This was so helpful. I think I learned the most on any live show, this live show, than any other ones that we've had. So truly, Natalee, thank you, thank you. And for everyone who's listening, I could not appreciate your time and energy and questions enough. If you like this, you will love our free masterclass next week, the OBM opportunity, where we will show you how to start your fractional ops, fractional OBM business, all for free. So we will put in the link here. And y'all, we're going to take a break next week because we have this masterclass, but we will be back that last week of August. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Natalee. This was
You
truly a
betcha.
pleasure. Bye, y'all.